This week we're going to be discussing dynamics, that is to say how loud or quiet we're playing. Now this subject has become long overdue in this series of lessons. In fact, it's probably become the most important lesson. So far we've been developing strength to produce a powerful strike. We've been working and developing the muscles and tendons in the arm, and this is helping us to develop control, power and speed. And the only problem is, if we play like this all the time, then no one's going to want to hire us because we're just going to be too loud. The drums are an incredibly loud instrument, but they can be played surprisingly quietly. There are times when we may want to play louder, if we were in a rock situation for example, but we ought to be able to rely on amplification to boost our sound, to boost our volume. Having said that, there are many rock drummers who do like to play full on with their arms, but this would be wholly inappropriate in a jazz setting, or any acoustic setting really. If we're playing in a concert band or a brass band or anything smaller, then what we've developed so far is really going to be our maximum volume. Occasionally in an orchestra at specific times we might need to play a little louder, but that would depend on what the composer wanted and also what the conductor wants from the piece of music. So this week I'm going to be going over what we've already done, some of the exercises we've already learned, but we're going to be playing them at a quieter volume. And I'm also going to introduce an exercise which is going to help to lock into our subconscious an appropriate stick height for any given dynamic. Later on at the end we'll also discuss lightness of touch, which will enable us to play quieter but with a similar movement. So let's get stuck in. So to begin with, we're going to go back to all the way back to lesson 3, and we're going to talk about the grace notes. Now when I demonstrated these to you in lesson 3, I probably wasn't thinking so much about my stick heights as much as I would be if I was practicing for myself. And now that we've developed a bit more control over the last few lessons, now we want to really focus on bringing our stick heights down as low as we possibly can in order to play at our absolute minimum volume. So this is a good place to start with this. So we're going to do the grace notes. We're going to imagine them in groups of 3s but with no accent, and eight groups of 3 on each hand. So I'll just demonstrate this to you now. Okay, so we want to, as I said, keep those sticks down as low as possible, but we're looking for a nice clean sound. Be very careful not to get a nasty buzzing sound, which we don't want. We want a nice clean sound, which is what we would have come to expect from what we've been developing over the last few weeks. So the next exercise is going to be the accented 4s, which is again from lesson 3. So we're going to do 8 groups of 4 on each hand. Okay, so we're keeping the stick heights down as low as we possibly can. So that is the grace notes, the quiet notes, are really, really, really low, and then the accented notes are just about twice as high, but again, as low as we possibly can. So we're going to move on to accented threes. Okay, so the same principles there, exactly the same. And now we'll move to accented twos. Now if you remember in lesson 4 we used the same principles but we put the two hands together. So the exercise that was accented threes, if we add the left hand we make a group of 6 notes. So we're going to do the accented sextuplets from lesson 4. There's 8 accents on each hand, and on the 8th accent you stop and then you start with the next hand in time. So okay, so yes, we're trying to keep those sticks down really, really low, like we did with the single-handed exercises. And again from lesson 4, we're going to move to the accented quadruplets or semi-quavers. Same principle, we're going to do 8 accents on each hand and stop. No, I think it's 16 accents, sorry. 16 accents on each hand and then stop. Okay, so that's keeping sticks down as low as we can, to play as quietly as we can, to find our minimum volume, the quietest we can possibly play. So one more exercise which is good for maintaining our lowest possible dynamic is to play Diggy Diggy Bap Bap, the full version, which we learned in lesson 4. So we'll do that now. So that's all straight sticking, no accents, and trying to keep it down as low as possible. Obviously, as the tempo builds up, it becomes more difficult to keep the sticks down. So that's something you need to focus on. I wasn't necessarily keeping my sticks as low as I would have liked to, so just bear that in mind when you're doing your own practice and try and keep those sticks down lower. Okay.